Have you ever walked away from a conversation with someone and felt completely exhausted, as if the life had been sucked out of you? There was no shouting, no fight, nothing dramatic on the surface, but somehow being with that person left you feeling empty and drained. Psychologists have a name for people like this. They call them energy vampires. And no, they don't drink your blood like the vampires in movies. What they actually feed on is far more valuable: your attention, your validation, and most importantly, your emotional energy. The scariest part? Most of them don't even realize they're doing it. For them, it's just a way of surviving. But for you, it can be absolutely exhausting. And then there are the darker ones, the ones who do know exactly what they're doing. They deliberately create situations that pull your energy away from you and toward them, leaving you depleted. So today we're diving deep into the psychology of energy vampires. We'll explore who they are, the different types you might encounter, the psychological reasons behind their behavior, and most importantly, how you can protect yourself before they drain you dry. Energy vampires aren't supernatural creatures. They are everyday people, your friends, your coworkers, your relatives, sometimes even your romantic partners. What sets them apart from others is how you feel after interacting with them. Instead of walking away energized or connected, you feel heavy, sluggish, maybe even anxious. Instead of feeling supported, you feel completely worn out. That's because they unconsciously, or sometimes very consciously, feed off you. They use your attention, your sympathy, or your emotional reactions as fuel. For some of them, this happens because they're insecure or lonely. But for others, especially those with darker personality traits, this pattern becomes a strategy for control and manipulation. Now, psychologists often link this behavior to traits of narcissism, borderline personality tendencies, or Machiavellian manipulation. But you don't need a diagnosis to be an energy vampire. They're defined by one thing only: they take far more than they give. Not all energy vampires look the same, though. They come in different forms. Let me walk you through some of the most common types you might have met in your life. First, there's the victim. This is the person who is always suffering, always unlucky, and always in need of rescuing. At first, you want to help them. You feel compassion for them, you give advice, you lend a hand. But over time, you start to realize that nothing ever improves. Their problems never end. In fact, they seem to thrive on your sympathy because your constant tension becomes their emotional lifeline. Then we have the drama magnet. This person lives in chaos. If there isn't a crisis happening around them, they'll create one. They'll call you at midnight with some new disaster, or they'll constantly bring you into their arguments and conflicts. Their adrenaline becomes your exhaustion, and before you know it, you're caught in their storm. Another type is the narcissist. This one is a bit more obvious. With them, everything is about them, their stories, their accomplishments, their needs. Conversations turn into endless monologues where your feelings and experiences don't even exist. They feed off admiration, and your energy is the price you pay for giving it. Then we have the critic. This is the person who always finds something wrong. Sometimes it's subtle, sometimes it's direct, but it's always negative. They might comment on how you look, question your decisions, or poke holes in your confidence. And every little criticism chips away at you until you feel small, doubtful, and drained. And finally, the controller. This type uses guilt, pressure, or subtle manipulation to keep you under their influence. Being around them feels heavy, like you're constantly walking on eggshells. They might disguise it as concern or love, but really, it's about power. So, out of these types, which one have you met? Because I promise you, at some point in life, everyone comes across at least one energy vampire. But why do they do this? What is going on psychologically that makes them act this way? Psychologists explain that energy vampires often lack the ability to regulate their own emotions. Instead of calming themselves, they unconsciously use you as their emotional battery. When the victim complains and you reassure them, they get a hit of energy. When the narcissist brags and you admire them, they feel fueled. When the critic lowers your self-esteem, they feel stronger in comparison. And when the controller guilts you into doing what they want, they feel powerful and secure. In short, your emotional reaction becomes their fuel. But here's the darker layer. Some energy vampires, especially those with manipulative tendencies, actually know what they're doing. They've learned that by using guilt, flattery, or constant drama, they can keep people hooked. That's why being around them feels a little addictive. Sometimes they give you love or attention, and other times they take it away. This unpredictability keeps you stuck, always hoping for the good version of them to come back. So, how do you spot an energy vampire before it's too late? There are 3 red flags you should watch for. The first is how you feel after interacting with them. Pay attention to your mood. If you consistently feel worse, heavier, or more anxious after talking to someone, that's a huge clue. The second is guilt. If you constantly feel guilty for setting boundaries or saying no to this person, pay attention. Energy vampires thrive on guilt because it keeps you giving and giving. The third is imbalance. In a healthy relationship, there's give and take. But with an energy vampire, it's always one-sided. You give your time, your advice, your attention, but when you need support, they're suddenly unavailable. If you notice these patterns, you might be dealing with an energy vampire. Now, the big question, how do you protect yourself? First, set boundaries early and stick to them. Be clear about what you can and cannot give. Energy vampires will always test limits, so don't give them endless chances. Second, limit exposure. If this person drains you, reduce the amount of time you spend with them. Even short interactions are less damaging than long ones. Third, stay neutral. Don't feed them with strong emotional reactions. If you stay calm, give short, neutral answers, and don't jump into the drama, you starve their need for energy. And finally, recharge elsewhere. Spend time with people who uplift you, inspire you, and give you energy. That way, you're not running on empty when an energy vampire comes around. Because here's the truth, protecting your energy isn't selfish, it's survival. So the next time you feel drained after talking to someone, ask yourself, did they just take more than they gave? Because your energy is life, and if you don't protect it, the wrong people will steal it without hesitation. Thanks for watching. If this video opened your eyes, hit the like button, share it with someone who might need to hear it, and subscribe for more deep dives into dark psychology. Watch my video on how to outsmart a master manipulator here. And let me know in the comments, have you ever dealt with an energy vampire? And if so, which type was it?